Okay, lovely people. So I'm hoping that you've made your decision out of these five. Three are using the appositive correctly, two aren't. So let's look at the answers. Okay, so the ones in blue are using the appositives correctly. The ones in yellow aren't. So let's just go through, give yourself a tick if you were right. If you did, again, make a mistake, just listen to the explanations and make sure you understand why. So here we go. Number one is using it correctly. The Kansas wheat plains, several miles of golden stalks, unfurled across the horizon. So if we take out the opening, the Kansas wheat plains, several miles of golden stalks unfurled across the horizon still makes sense. If we remove the appositive, several miles of golden stalks, which are renaming the noun wheat plains, again, it makes sense. The Kansas wheat plains unfurled across the horizon. Now, you might remember it said for number two that some appositives can begin with modifiers, adjectives. So this is an example that isn't using they, a, or an to introduce the appositive, but it is using that modifier and it's working. Okay, let's look at number two. The thresher cutting through the wheat was a green, well-oiled machine. Now here we haven't got an appositive. We've got a verb phrase telling us what the thresher's doing. So it's not using the appositive. Now it was designed, okay, to again get you thinking, because at the end of the sentence it does tell us more about the thresher. It tells us it's a green, well-oiled machine, but it's introduced using that verb was. Okay, so that's an example, a non-example. Okay, that's not a positive in action. So number three, the house. A small and broken building that was weathered and worn stood on the edge of the plain. Now, this is an example of a really expanded appositive. Okay, this expanded noun phrase, noun clause that really extends our explanation, our understanding of the house. So take the appositive out. The house stood on the edge of the plain. We've got a very simple sentence, no description, straight to the point. The house stood on the edge of the plain. Our appositive then is renaming that noun house and it's explaining it more fully. We're really able to imagine the house now. It's a small and broken building that was weathered and worn. So a lovely use of adjectives to really unpack the image of the house. So an example of an appositive being used to really strengthen description. Okay, now number four, it says the sun, despite breaking a small hole in the clouds, couldn't last. Now, again, sometimes what we end up doing when we think we're using appositives is we begin to use verb phrases to tell us what the object is doing, not renaming or explaining the object itself. So here, the sun, despite breaking a small hole in the clouds, so we're focused on what it's doing, not describing or explaining it. So that's why it's not an appositive working in this sentence. Okay, now let's look at number five. Breaking a small hole in the clouds, the sun, a star of burning gas, couldn't last. So here we've got the noun the sun being renamed as a star of burning gas. So actually using a little bit of a scientific renaming. So give yourself a mark out of five. Look at the sentences. Did you select the correct three? If so, brilliant. If not, just look again, press pause, look carefully at the bits that are highlighted now to show you where you might have gone wrong. Okay, brilliant. Now, this one is a match activity. Now, this is getting us closer to what we're going to do, where we're going to create our own appositives. Now, I've got a list of nouns, okay? The sky, the wheat, the horizon, the sun, the clouds. All of these are our common nouns. All of these have been inspired by my picture choice, okay? I still am drawn to that picture with the line of the horizon so clear, the dark blue sky above it, the field of wheat, and then to the left, that little small insignificant house. So here are my nouns, but on this side, you've got a series of appositives. I want you to match the correct appositive to the noun. So our appositives are cereal grain, ice crystals floating in the sky, a great hollow dome above, a line that separates the earth and sky, the star around which the earth orbits. Okay, lovely. So you're going to press pause, write down the noun and the correct appositive. So if we just quickly do one together, the sky. So would you say that the sky can be renamed or explained more fully by a cereal grain? No, that doesn't work. What about ice crystals floating in the sky? Well, we're getting closer. We get the match between the sky and the sky, but it's not really renaming the sky or explaining about the sky. It's focusing on something else. The sky, a great hollow dome above. Oh, now that is a creative way to get us to think about the sky. Now, I'm kind of thinking that's my match, but I would just double check and make sure it's neither of the other two. The sky, a line that separates the Earth and the sky. Can't be that one. The sky, the star around which the Earth orbit. No, that's not correct. So I go back to my instinct, a great hollow dome, and I'm going to match those two. The sky, a great hollow dome above. So look at the others. Wheat, horizon, sun, and clouds. Which would you match? Okay, off you go. Okay, so let's look at the answers. So we already knew the sky was a great hollow dome above. Brilliant. Give yourself a mark for that one. The wheat. Okay, so this is quite what we call a factual O positive. It's really a renaming that wheat is a cereal grain. So sometimes the positives can be used in non-fiction writing as well. They don't just have to be used creatively. They can rename things. The horizon, brilliant, a line that separates the Earth and the sky. The sun, the star around which the Earth orbits, brilliant. The clouds, ice crystals floating in the sky. Brilliant. Now, we've done some work to secure and think about what positives are. Now it's going to be our chance to use them. Okay, guys? So we're now going to craft 3 sentences at least using positives. Now, remember your plan. You've already got a list of nouns from yesterday and a summary of which image your eye is drawn to and the 3 aspects of it that you focus on. We did that yesterday. So we're going to use that in our next activity, okay? So from your plan, you should have a list of at least 5 nouns. Now I want you to write down your 5 nouns. Brilliant. And then I want you to create an appositive. So if you've written down the noun machine or sky or wheat or house or building, the appositive that I want you to now come up with, you're going to create your own. You're going to come up with 5 of your own that rename it. So building. Now remember what we said, the easiest way is to begin with a, an, or the. So if you've got on your list of nouns a building, you could say on the next, a set of silver cylinders. I remember that building with the big silver grain elevators, yeah? Or you could say the building, a grain elevator, and then you've created an appositive. Now, to make it a sentence, you need to get it to do something. You need to attach it to a verb. So you might say, the building, a set of silver cylinders stood in the middle of the field. So you are going to turn your noun into a sentence and you're going to try using appositives. So just press pause and try and come up with 5 nouns, taking them into appositives. Okay, off you go. Hi, so I'm kind of gone back to an earlier activity just to remind you of how I would do this. Okay, so the sky, a great hollow dome. So you should have a list of your own nouns with the right ideas, the appositives turned into sentences next to them. Okay, so you should have at least 5 sentences. Now, out of those sentences at the moment, there might not be any order, any structure to them. So that's what we're going to do for our last activity today. Okay, so we're now going to go from our list of 5 potential sentences to choosing our best 3. And the way we're going to organize them so that there is a sense of order is we're going to use that last summary and planning activity we did the other day, where you had to talk about in the beginning what your eye was drawn to in the picture, next what it went to, and in the end. So I still love this image. I love its simplicity, but this is my response, okay? So I'm just going to read you through it and then you're going to write your own. In the beginning, my eye is drawn to the expanse of the sky. Now, here comes my appositive. Okay, now this is the really important bit I want you to try and achieve today is to use an appositive in your writing in each of your 3 best sentences. So, in the beginning, my eye is drawn to the expanse of the sky. There's my noun. Here comes my appositive, a blue blanket, turning it into the sentence by attaching it to an action, tucked in tight against the horizon. So in the beginning, my eye is drawn to the expanse of the sky, a blue blanket tucked in tight against the horizon. Next, my eye goes to the wheat, a swathe of golden cereal that ripples like the sea. In the end, the house, a worn and weathered building, is cast adrift in the sea. So you can see that I've just tried to say that the red color is kind of introducing the main element of the image that my eye is drawn to in order. But then in my purple, I am using the appositives to expand that description, to create 3 descriptive sentences. Well, now, guys, I know it's not perfect. I'm already looking at that last sentence thinking I've used the C twice. What could I change it to? But I like the idea of trying to use that image of this house looking like it's cast adrift in the sea of the wheat to already begin to introduce that idea of loneliness that I wanted in these pictures. So even as a writer, we will have chance tomorrow to refine and revise and to improve. But we're going to have the building blocks, the foundation of at least, when you do the final activity 3, descriptive sentences that are using appositives to rename and explain and describe more fully. So I want you just to end with today to do the activity that where you copy and complete using appositives. Now, guys, you might not have chosen this image. You're going to be looking maybe at the image that you want to describe. It's going to be different. But we can, to help us, all share the same starting sentences. In the beginning, my eye is drawn to. Next, my eye goes. In the end. But what I want you to do is to introduce your noun and then in a positive to rename and expand it. So in the beginning, my eye is drawn to the sky, a blue blanket untucked into the horizon. So go for it, guys. Just enjoy the time it takes you just to create 3 sentences. Now tomorrow we'll start with just a reminder of how we check that you've used the appositives. Okay, and I know it's really hard when you've not got your teacher there to check you. But have a look back at any of the slides. Remind yourself of what an appositive is. So it's going to be introduced using a, the, or an. Is that a good way to know you're using an appositive? It's going to be expanding a noun by adding and explaining to your descriptions in more detail. Just think, be creative, and just do your final 3 sentences that copy and complete this structure. Thanks, guys, for working so hard today. I look forward to working with you again tomorrow. Bye.